I think there's kind of two stories going on right now in the real estate market and in the world, but specifically here locally in real estate, we have
our clients feeling it. It is the market that is feeling it. I think we can see that in the data in terms of price improvements over the last couple weeks.
I would rather buy today at 6 and negotiate great terms on the house, because I can't renegotiate the terms later. I can renegotiate them later. If you're one of those people that you have a 3.5% interest rate and you bought your house before the market boomed, I think the better play there for me would be to not sell the house and to, if we just listen a little bit higher, if we just did this. And then the market is going to punch you in the face. It's going to be brutally honest with you. What's up, everybody? It's Dana and David back with another Market Pulse update. What's going on in Davidson County, Wilson County, Rutherford County, Sumner County, Williamson County, all the counties in and around Middle Tennessee. What's going on about real estate and things to do. What's up, Dana? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
That was the worst intro ever. Just re-record that.
Redo.
Our 4 followers will love it. Listen, if our 4 followers, it's our 4 more followers, we're going to grow this thing, right? We see you guys watching, whether you comment or like on it. We know you're tracking us. We're too fancy. Right. What's up? I'm Dawn Rose. I have decided I'm never getting a haircut again. I think we had this conversation the last few weeks. I'm now to the point where I'm going to look like Tom Hanks from Castaway. We're just going to see how long we can go before someone mistakes me for a homeless guy.
Definitely need to leave that hat on, for sure. Don't take that off.
That's why we wear hats, right? Why I'm your younger brother. All right, let's hop in. Let's talk about the market or the lack thereof. I think there's kind of two stories going on right now in the real estate market and in the world, but specifically here locally in real estate, we have kind of a tell of two markets from a level 8 Huffaker Group perspective, and then we have the market data about what's actually happening in the counties that we track. So you're the expert in Wilson County and around the Huffaker Group, so what are you seeing?
Some things that I really haven't seen, and in true transparency, I've seen some people kind of choosing other counties outside of Wilson County over, they're choosing Sumner County over Mount Juliet. And I kind of looked at the data this week. When you look at pendings over these 5 counties that we talk about, Wilson County was actually the least amount of pendings over the last week. Davidson County led it, followed by Rutherford County, Williamson County, and Sumner County, and then Wilson County kind of followed it up. So in terms of where people are picking to buy, it looks like we've kind of fallen to the bottom of the list, and that could be on a week by week basis. But I thought I'd look at it this week just to kind of see where the data was pulling from.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. That's a good takeaway. We kind of take for granted that so many people have been moving to Wilson County for so long that prices are really high, right? And they're at a point where there are maybe more attractive houses in other parts of the state. But I mean, again, we'll help anybody anywhere. And can't win them all to Wilson County, Dana. You gotta let some of them go to other places. And so, do you think that's price driven?
Do what?
Do you think that's price driven? Do you think that's what it is? Just the cost of living? I mean, we saw people start to move away from Williamson County as they, the average price broke over $1 million. It's just hard for people to be able to afford it. So mathematically makes a little bit of sense. Are we at that point in Wilson County yet?
Possibly. I mean, I think it depends on the house too, right? Are people, you kind of can look at, in every county there's newer and older parts, right? You've got, the north side of Spring Hill, kind of southern side of Williamson County, lots of development out there. If you've driven down I-65, they've got a new exit there that is hot in development. If you look at, kind of Wilson County, we've got a lot of new construction development, a lot of townhome inventory that we were talking about last week. Definitely Lebanon is saturated with townhomes, right? But great opportunities for first-time home buyers, investors looking for rental purposes. And so I really think we have got to kind of back into it and kind of look at who is buying these homes and really, targeting those specific, whether it's first time home buyers, whether it's people right sizing, or maybe they are moving up, right? We always kind of talk about the people that are moving, and relocation, right? What desirable areas, course, Lebanon's price point is lower than Mount Juliet's, right? And kind of looking at, Hendersonville and Gallatin, there's newer parts and older parts, over there, right? And kind of looking at, those price points. I've got one in a higher price point in Gallatin that's just kind of sitting. And when I reach out to other agents in the area and those price points, it's the same tell, right? So it's not just, our clients feeling it, it is the market that is feeling it. I think we can see that in the data in terms of price improvements over the last couple weeks. So still trending up towards 1,000 price improvements last week. And again, going back, it's, 2 weeks in a row, right? And that's what we say October of last year. So 7 months ago.
Yeah, lots of things going on with the prices there. I think it's important also the education of the buyer right now, I think, is really important. And so one thing we kind of watch as industry, I don't know, professionals, people who do this full time all the time, is are buyers being educated properly on all the factors of buying a home when it comes to rates, when it comes to fit and finishes, when it comes to location, when it comes to maybe sales tactics or things that seem alluring, but over the long term. You and I were talking about, Hidden Gem, right? Web Reserve over off of Carver Lane in Lebanon, and the fit and finishes are so much nicer than the other townhomes in the area. That's a great opportunity right now if you're a first-time home buyer and investor. I mean, I look at it and go like, we've got a 2-bedroom there, what, 244.9? Is that right?
Yeah, great new construction.
Yeah, I mean, what a great, you can get a rate right now in the high fives with our preferred lender. And so I look at that and I go like, and we're gonna, they're gonna pay for the first year of HOA dues. And so I think about like the total cost of home ownership there, and I go like, what a great opportunity as first time home buyers, and it's really expensive to buy. And I go like, man, that's a really good entry point at a 244 price in a really hot area of town with really nice fit and finishes. And when you really look at the total cost, if you take that HOA payment out of the monthly cost, that it should move the market, right? That a buyer should look up if they're being educated by their agent and go, that's a really good deal, and sellers are willing to give right now in terms like that, right? So you're not only talking about a price reduction, you're talking about a lender credit, you're talking about some closing cost help, you're talking about some HOA help, and you go, man, that's starting to be a pretty good bucket of offerings. So then you back up and go, so how long does it take for those conversations? We just had 2 weeks of significant price reductions, almost 1,900, almost 2,000 price reductions in the last 2 weeks. As much as I hate to say it for our sellers, it's what we need to see in the market, right? Yeah. And we really need to see it to continue to where there's pressure on prices to come down a little bit. And that's the chase, right? It's the go ahead and get out ahead of it now and price it accurately so it's not this race to the bottom. I think our showings internally have been really slow and quiet, which, I blame on a little bit of seasonality, a little bit of interest rates being high, right? A little bit of uncertainty in the economy are kind of all compounding to these things. Do you think there's any relief on the horizon? Where do we see the market go next?
I mean, rates were slightly down today that I saw compared to yesterday. I know we were talking about it yesterday in our meeting with, the war being ended, coming up. And so, hopefully that plays into it as well. What I don't want to see is, people just continuing to adjust prices, right? We want people to, price it right, price it smart, right? So the market can chase us down versus us chase the market down.
Yeah, there's still limited supply out there, which is what's kind of causing this kind of stalemate between buyers and sellers, because it is really expensive to buy, no doubt, right? If you're if you talk, how many people do you talk to? It's like they bought their house that they could sell for $900,000 for $350,000, 8 years ago, and so they're at a 3.5% mortgage. So in order for them to go buy something, they're going to pay $900,000 to $1 million at a 5.5-6% rate, and it just doesn't make sense. So you still got that lock-in effect a little bit. Life changes make people move eventually, but ultimately you still got limited supply, decent demand. So we're just kind of in no man's land right now in the market, not really in favor of the buyer, not really in favor of the seller. So you got to want to move right now, and I think that's the lag on it. Hopefully this deal between the U.S. and Iran gets inked and it starts to provide some level of certainty or relief. I think that's really what the market's probably looking for right now. It's just a little bit of certainty that something else isn't going to change because we've just gone through so much chaos over the last several years. And even myself and you included, right? We're kind of like, yeah, we'll see, right? Um, that should give some relief to interest rates, but that might take us 30 or 60. We might not really see that show up until August,
Yeah.
right? Um,
When you've got a great lender partner and that type of thing, if the rates do go less, right? A lot of the lenders are offering free refinancing. So
yeah, because I mean, let's say rates go to, I mean, look, we saw it in February, March, April, May, June closings, right? I mean, some great months as a company as we track that data. So you go like we saw when rates just dipped in March, to below 6, the influx of people
it's
that hit the market.
barely below 6,
Yeah,
but
yeah. It won't take much. I mean, 6 is the psychological trigger. So when that happens, you got now people entering the market. So if I'm a buyer right now, like I would rather buy today at 6 and negotiate great terms on the house because I can't renegotiate the terms later. I can renegotiate the rate. And so I'd rather get a little bit of a higher rate if that's what it takes in order to get good terms and then refinance 6 months, 12 months, whenever that is. Again, the difference between a 6 3/8 and a 5.99 is almost all psychological, right? I mean, the real actual dollar cost. So I look at like the web reserves for $150 a month in HOA dues. It's way better than a quarter point reduction in interest rates. You know what I mean? So it's how do we educate the consumers out there to kind of understand that and to make decisions. What we want to encourage people to do is make decisions based off of sound logic. Don't make decisions based off of TikTok trend headlines and what you're reading online of the herd mentality, right? You're never going to win at life if you're just going off of what you think the masses are thinking.
no, absolutely. And I think you've made a couple points, and I think that's the difficult thing too. Especially if it's our listings, right? We're usually not in control of that buyer's agent, right? So making sure that these terms are clearly explained, because you know there's newer agents out there, not as seasoned agents, and so if you don't have that local expert that knows the ins and outs, it can be challenging to kind of, because you want to back up whether it's a seller or whether it's a buyer and let them see that bigger picture, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And I think it's not even, I mean, to their defense. I mean, if they're showing, 8 to 12 homes to 15 homes over the course of a few weeks, it's tough for everybody to keep all that straight. Right?
absolutely.
I think it's where us being professionals and being able to communicate that and stay, follow up and stay in conversations with people really probably makes a difference in us being able to move our seller's product versus someone else, right? We know that that's a valuable part of the market is having a trained sales professional that's willing to communicate consistently with the other parties, right? All right, so it sounds like we're going to get some relief to this war. Holding our breath, right? We've already seen oil prices dip significantly. You got the Fed reserves that are, when we're recording this, it's the 16th. They'll meet tomorrow, and assuming they're going to hold, the overnight rate steady, you go like, all right, probably doesn't really make a huge difference on 30-year mortgages, right? Um, the banks are looking for some certainty. The risk of inflation, guys, right now is really what's causing the long-term concern, and it's going to take a few months for us to really know, like, is the sticky inflation a result of tariffs and the war, and it's just transitory and therefore will fall, or is this a long-term problem that we're running into that we're going to have to deal with, which potentially means rates could go up. So that's the other side of it. Is it's like people are scared to buy because what if rates come down? And I go like, nothing says they're going to come down, right? What if they went up? Would you be glad that you bought and locked in? So I think they're at a safe spot right now. Where if I'm in the market, I would be out doing something at the moment, just because you don't know the predictability of the future, right?
Well, let me ask you this. So, to kind of educate you on the others, I had a seller say to me just this morning when I was having a price improvement conversation about his home. And so he stopped. He's like, well, you know, David, is now a good time to sell? I know it's a great time to buy, but is now a good time to sell? What would you tell people?
Yeah, I would say that depends. It depends on where you're at and what your motivation is. If you're buying another home it almost logically always makes sense depending upon where you're at in your journey, right? If you've had a life moment, absolutely, you need to move. You need to live your life. Don't base your decision based off of, don't be in a rut in your life over an interest rate, right? On the flip side of that, if you're one of those people that you have a 3.5% interest rate and you bought your house before the market boomed and your house, you now have $500,000 in equity, I think the better play there for me would be to not sell the house and to turn that into an asset, a cash producing asset, and to rent that thing out and then go, even if you need to refinance out some of the down payment so that you can go buy your next house, especially if you're going smaller. Um, I think if you're going bigger, you got to decide like, is now the time? Is unless you have more feet in the home and you just need more space. Um, so again, I think it's very depends on the circumstance of the seller, and that's where we always say like we're not there to convince anybody to sell their house. We're there to educate and to help you make the best decision, and that's where we've built such a long-term reputation in the community. Is we're consultants and we're there to give you all the facts and to help you think through the pros and cons and really make the decision that's right for you and the household, whether that's today or 4 years from now, right, or 5 years from now. We've learned that people trust us because we're going to give them the honest answer, not the answer that causes a commission to happen,
Yep,
right?
absolutely. And in his situation, right, it is a life moment. Like they've been, living in a basement. They've got two little kids now, and it's just time. They were doing some house hacking, so they could potentially do it. But at the same time, ultimately, I think they want to move. And right, they wanted to list for hire. Right, I always say like, hey, this isn't my recommendation, and I don't want to test the market. And in 2 to 3 weeks, if we don't have advantageous results, we're going to be having that, the conversation that we had today. And of course, what happens, right? One spouse wants to adjust and the other one doesn't. But that's when you have to have that conversation, right? Are we thinking with emotion? Or are we thinking with logic, right?
Yeah, yeah. The
And
pricing of a home is very logical. There's not a conversation out there where it's a fairy tale, and we live in this what if hypothetical until it hits the market, and in that hypothetical, we convince ourselves that, oh well, if we just listed a little bit higher, a little bit higher, if we just did this, and then you go like the market is going to punch you in the face, like it's going to be brutally honest with you. Yeah, and it's like if you don't list it at the right price, it is going to sit, and you're going to have to come down. And it's going to get reduced, and you're going to get lower offers, and it never ends the way. And so it's well, let's just test it. And you go like, we see people do it all the time, and you go like, to me, it's the difference between price it aggressively and aim for 99 to 102% of list price, or overprice it and aim for 95 to 97% of list price, right? So you're talking about that big of a deal. You could be talking about a 5% swing, which on a $500,000 home is $25,000, makes a difference, right?
yeah, huge difference.
The other piece I think about is we all have so much equity in our home. If you've owned a home for a little while, right, we've had a lot of good years of appreciation in real estate. I didn't get up and go work and do anything for that appreciation, right? I was the benefit of the market. And so therefore I go like, I try not to get too hung up. I own a lot of properties. I try not to get too hung up on that that number because in reality, I never expected for my home value to go up that much. So to me, I'm kind of playing with house money. I've got a property on the market, a piece of land. I've lowered it $50,000 every week for the last 2 weeks. And I just go like because I understand that the market is going to pay me what it's worth in this environment, and I want to sell the property, so I can get emotional about it, and I can be frustrated that I could have got more for it at a different time, but I want to sell the property, right? And so it's like I understand I can get emotional about it, or I can go like, no, I want to sell the property. And if you're going to take a little bit less right now, you probably can go get something for a little bit less on the other side. So if you are upgrading, just to put a pin in it, um, if I take 5% less on a $500,000 home, that's $25,000, right? So if I go get 5% less on a $750,000 home, right? That's whatever that math is, right? 3750 or something like that, or 37.5. So it's like if I'm upgrading, that number should actually work in my favor. You see what I'm saying? So it's all right. I'm going to take 5% less on my home, but I'm buying a bigger home, which I should be able to negotiate a similar type of number given the market. So therefore, I win. I actually came out ahead.
On the flip side, right, to answer that gentleman's question this morning is, it could be flipped, right? Because then if pricing is staying the same and people are buying, then you're going to have that hard of a time on the purchase side, and you're not going to be able to negotiate less. And so that's what people forget is you're going at it two different ways, but really it's the same way. If you're going to take less, you're going to be able to negotiate more. If you're selling for more, you're going to have to buy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, like if I have a tree fall in my yard, I got to go get a chainsaw. Right.
I
Like,
did one. Can you come do that for me?
that's my point though. It's like, I can worry about how much a chainsaw costs, but like if I'm living in my basement and I'm frustrated, we're getting too caught up on the minor, when really the major is what matters. Right. And so it's one of those, like, make the decisions you got to make, do what you got to do, live your life, move on. Look, there's better things in life to be worrying about than a few dollars, right? When it comes to satisfaction, because we act like we can control everything, but there's so many other things in play in our lives. I mean, we've all paid more for gas the last, on a monthly basis in the last 90 days, and we just couldn't control that, right? And so there are certain things we can't control that are going to impact our financial ability each month. Getting caught up over a 1/4% or a few $1,000s on a home sale, it may not be the best place to be focusing the energy, right? But I get it. We're all competitive and we all have this amount. And so we kind of get in the thick of it and we're like, no, like, and I always tease people. I'm like, congratulations, you're the highest bidder for your house, right? If you're going to keep it, if that's what you want to list it at, no one wants to pay you for that. Like, yay, you, right? Like, it's not the answer they want, but it's like, you're the only one that thinks it's worth $525. Congratulations, you get to keep it. Which isn't what they want, right? And so we have to find that number. So I think that's all great conversation.
That's the one thing I love about us and our agents on the team is we aren't chasing down a commission check, right? We really, really are just passionate about helping people get where they need to be, whether it's now or whether it's 2 years from now or never, right? We want to meet our clients where they're at. And sometimes, I was talking to Heather just last week, and she had a client that was getting a little bit of cold feet, but, she showed her the broader picture, right? Sometimes we need a little nudge, right? And sometimes we need that empathy and that type of thing. But, at the end of the day, we want them to be where they should be. Even if
we want to lead our community with fear and candor, and we want to have real conversations and be able to be authentic in that and really tell them the truth. At the same time, we're going to sell and close 50 homes a month, give or take, in some form or fashion. So to your point, we have the ability, and thankfully you and I over the years have built a company that has the ability to be honest and transparent with the consumer, because we don't have to check the commission check, right? We're very blessed and thankful that everybody trusts us, but it allows us to not have to worry about that side of it. And we can be totally at ease with our clients and making sure we're doing what's best for them, and operating in integrity in the whole thing. So I always appreciate your participation in that, because it does take our team culture to kind of have that mentality to make sure that the consumer is being taken care of first, right? All right, so we're coming up to the end of June. What's going on in and around Wilson County? What are you up to these next few weeks?
Baseball and vacation. Usually vacation and contracts, so that's what I'm really hoping for.
And I'm heading out of town, so I know it'll be 2 weeks before we record again. Hopefully when we come back, the market's going to be on fire, interest rates are going to plummet, and we all won the lottery, right? It's so much fun.
Amen.
All right, anything else before we hop off?
No.
Other than my haircut?